Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Confined Kitchen. It is Ian Tyson here, motivational speaker, passionate home cook, ready to get going with this with you. It has been a couple of weeks. Things are getting busier, fall season, speaking more, doing lots of marketing, trying to get out there in the schools, but that's what's going to happen. But it's also fall season, it's a little bit cooler. I know I'm kind of theming from the last episode, which was a nice hearty soup. Now we're going to do a nice little steak and stout stew. So it's going to have some beer in it. I probably shouldn't mention the brand of the beer. Let's just say it comes in a black can and they're big fans of world records. So anyway, going to make some steak and beer stew with lots of good vegetables in there, really hearty and warm. Maybe it's because it's like a windy, cool day outside right now, and I was even wearing a jacket, which makes me so excited because I love jacket weather. But we're going to get into this. Oh, and one little thing, just right off the top, we'll see how this goes, but I'm switching up secondary cameras. I had my very old iPhone 4 that I've been using, which sometimes, you know, crapped out on me because it's old. But look what I found. My flip camera from like 2009. It's awesome. It's got a little chip out of the bottom, but I'm excited. So it still works. I can still plug it into my computer, pull the videos off. So we're going to give this a shot for our secondary camera over the food. Hopefully it works. If it doesn't, we're going to see the end result. You're still going to hear me talking. This should be a relatively quick one, simply because of just the steps are pretty easy. For the end result you're going to see, take a little bit longer for me. But let's get going. Steak and stout stew. That's a lot of stews. So friends, we got a lot of good stuff for today. So we've got, as you just saw in the list, we've got a lot of good fresh veg, some fresh herbs, all kinds of stuff. What we have for our meat is a blade roast. So this would normally, like, they'd make blade steaks out of this. Inexpensive roast, doesn't cost a lot. I'm going to cut up what I need for the stew. The rest is going to be turned into steaks for me. So that'll be good. And yeah, it's got nice marbling, so we're going to cut that up into some bits. First things first, we've got our big stock pot here. Well, it's not a big stock pot, that's a good size. I just got to make this for me. I'm going to be eating it for days. But we're going to cut up a yellow onion. We're going to dice that up, put it in and get that onion sweating. Then we're going to add the beef, add the stout, and then just get everything going as it's stewing its way along. And then we just got to wait for those flavors to incorporate, for everything to get delicious. We got some nice fresh bread. We're going to do some fun topping on it. It's going to be awesome. So let's get down to business. Yellow onion, diced so we can sweat it out. Going to turn the stove up to, wait for it, medium high. And then we're going to dice and things are going to be good. So let's just go. Just a nice little dice on those onions. So we've just got a nice dice on those small bits. We don't want to make them too big. We don't want big chunks of onion coming in with the spoon in this stew. So we've got that heating up nicely. We're going to put a little oil in there. And then we're going to sweat these out. We're just hot at first and we're going to turn the temperature down. Of course, we need some kosher salt. A little bit of pepper. Sweat those onions. Ooh, those are strong. Ooh, mercy. Now we're going to cut up this blade roast into some nice little stewing beef size things. Look, you can get stewing beef at the store. It's great, it's fine. I like to use different cuts of meat. If I can find something where I'm going to be able to get a little bit more out of it, which I can in this case, I should probably not talk with my hands while I'm holding a knife. Let's just put that down. I've cut myself a number of times in the last few weeks. Let's not do it again. So yeah, we're just going to cut this up into some nice bite-sized bits. The rest are going to turn into steaks. Just find something that's going to be good for you. You want to go high end, get a really nice high end cut. That's totally fine. You want to keep it low end. It just depends on how you cook it and how much you can make it nice and tender and beautiful. So we're going with the blade steak here. And we've got some just 1-inch cubes of that roast. So we did about half the roast, maybe 2/3, and just got it in some nice cubes there. So that's all ready to go. We're going to pre-salt those a little bit. Okay, a lot of bit. I'm just going to turn the heat back up on these onions just for a minute. They've sweat down nicely. I turned it down. I'm going to get that heat back up so I can get a quick sear on the meat, and then I'm going to add the stout right away. All right, pot is hot again. In goes the beef. Just going to stir that around, get them broken up a little bit because they were kind of sticking together. Just a light bit of browning on them. Just want to get the browning started on those. Okay, so the browning started, so off camera, we add our stout, which shall remain nameless. I'm putting the whole can in there while the stove is at a medium high. And we're going to do that and just let it start to cook that beef right in there with the stout. It's going to burn off all the alcohol through the course of this, so don't worry about it. But it's just going to add a nice flavor. We'll call it a bit of an Irish stew. So while that's starting to warm up, we're going to cut up our potatoes. Now I'm using two different kinds of potatoes. First we got our standard russets, and then I had a few of these left. These are a lovely Canadian potato. These are called golden hearts. Red skin, golden flesh, really tasty. Just the slightest hint of sweetness, not like a sweet potato level, just a little sweeter, kind of like a Yukon Goldie type of thing inside, but with the red skin. Had a couple of them left, have done some work with them. We'll talk about that another time with the farm that produces these. So I'm going to put these in and the regular russets, give us our potatoes, get them going. Just before we throw the potatoes in, I've got some roasted garlic on hand, as I always do, and I'm going to add a few cloves of some nice gooey, I've got a mix of cooked levels here, but I'm going to put some roasted garlic right in there because that's going to add some lovely sweet and delicious flavor to this. I'm going to put a couple of sprigs of rosemary straight in there as well. Potatoes are cut into nice chunks, golden hearts, russets, good to go. All right, the stout is boiling and that's cooking the meat nicely, so we're going to throw the potatoes right in. Because we've already kind of crested the surface of the stout there, I've got a little low sodium beef stock. We're going to throw that straight in. And then we're going to thicken this up later with either or both a bit of a roux and a bit of a slurry with some cornstarch. So that'll be good too. Got the rosemary in there adding some flavor. Now we're just going to keep adding veg, and then we're just going to let it sit, see what it's done, get those flavors going. Next up, carrots. Nice rough chopped carrots. Here we go. Beautiful carrots into the mix. Now in this stew, I like a little broccoli and a little red pepper too, but we're going to add those right at the end because they cook so quickly, especially the broccoli. So what we're going to do in the meantime, I've got some white mushrooms we're going to chop, and I'm also going to chop up some more of that rosemary, but really chop it to within an inch of its life and put that right in because the sprigs we put in we'll take out at the end. They're just imparting flavor right now. So let's chop some white mushrooms. Rough chop of mushrooms ready. So I've just chopped up the rosemary here, and I'm just going to make it super fine and then put that right in, and then some thyme as well. Just some nice finely chopped rosemary. Okay, we've got that rosemary chopped fine. We're going to put that right in. Now with the thyme, the sprigs of thyme, I'm just going to pick the stems off, and then you go against the grain and just peel off the little leaves, chop them up fine as well. It's a fine thyme. That's what that is. And some nice fresh thyme right in there. That is starting to look hearty. Now we just need to thicken it up. So we're going to make a quick roux to thicken this up, and then we might have to add a little slurry with some cornstarch a little bit later. So that's really nice and cooking down. We're getting those potatoes softened and the other veg in there. So what we do is we've got a small pot. We're going to get some butter, some flour. We've done a roux before. Maybe going to add a little bit more beef stock to it just to kind of get it stirrable, and then we're going to throw that in. That should thicken things up nicely. In the meantime, just before we do that, because it's time to, going to add a little more salt and some black pepper. Pot's heating up. Pat of butter right in there. We're going to let that melt down. Add a little bit of flour, stir that until it thickens up, gets a little pasty, and then we're going to add the some more of the stock. Good to go. Mix it in, thicken things up. Then if we need to, we add the cornstarch. So we just want it like that, and then we add our flour. Make a nice little paste. Then we're going to add some stock, and then we will add this to the stew. So the roux was an imperfect system. It sometimes is. So we've got some cornstarch and some water made into a bit of a slurry. Putting that straight in. We're going to thicken it up that way. Thickening up nicely, going to add a little bit of red pepper. It's going to be perfect. A wee bit of red pepper for you. Just a little red pepper. It's going to add some good flavor, and it's going to also add a little color in it. It's going to be awesome. In it goes. So now we're just going to do a little bit of broccoli in there. We're getting towards the end. It's nice and thick. The flavors are really incorporating. It's going to be perfect. So a little broccoli, won't take long to cook. Get it in there. A little more veg, a little more green in there. It's awesome. Right, now we've got some nice small bits, nicely chopped broccoli going right in. And then we're just going to let this simmer right down. And things are going to be perfect. We're going to put a little topping on it, a little fresh bread. It's going to be delicious. Things are looking good, simmering and delicious. Okay, friends, it's getting time to plate, or I guess bowl, this. We've got some nice fresh baguette, a little butter on it. We're going to have that on the side. Where did the end piece of the baguette go? You may be asking yourself. All I have to say that is I don't have to explain myself to you, okay? What happens in the edit happens in the edit. You got to taste your food. Don't judge me. I like to put a little, like a nice sharp cheese on top of a nice, I love like sharp cheeses with beef. So with this steak and stout stew, sometimes I'll do like a nice Irish cheddar, you know, the kind that like makes your back teeth hurt, like crumbly. Oh, that's always good. Don't have any right now. Do have a little smoked cheddar, nice aged smoked cheddar. We're going to put that on. So we're going to put it in the bowl. We're going to put a little the cheese on top, give it a little, you know, flame action because we can, and then just a little chives, a little ground pepper. We're golden. So hang tight. Look at that beauty. This is going to be good. We've got some stew in the bowl. We're just going to put a little bit of that smoked cheddar on there. Just a little. It's going to add some nice flavor. And then, well, because, and my friends, a nice steak and stout stew, perfect for a cool fall evening. This is delicious. No, we added a little more black pepper and salt, things to taste. Put a little bit of Worcester in there, and you know, keep thickening it, and you know, just make your way through, play with it, find your joy. This is a good stew. I'm going to go enjoy it now. Thank you as always for joining me. You can follow me at Ian Tyson on Instagram and Twitter, Ian Tyson Speaker on Facebook. Like, subscribe, all of that stuff on the YouTube channel, and find me at iantyson.ca. It's been a pleasure having you back in the Confined Kitchen, and we'll see you next time. Thanks. Take care. Bye-bye.